So, a very complicated situation in the Middle East is only becoming more complicated now as we have new inflammatory comments by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said publicly Israel is the nation state of Jews alone. Now, a very, very hyperbolic comment that, of course, is making headlines all over the media, but we're going to get into the full context of what's happening here. Him being embattled in, of course, indictments as well, which Jason is going to go over, as well as the political scene and elections that are coming up there, because some people are saying that this latest kind of comment was a political one, meant, of course, to help secure a political victory in April to make sure that Benjamin Netanyahu becomes prime minister of Israel again. Now, these latest comments come after a TV personality in Israel on Instagram sent out a photo and message saying, quote, when the hell will someone in the government broadcast to the public that Israel is a country for all of its citizens and every person was born equal? Arabs too, God help us, are human beings, and so are the Druze, and so are gays, by the way, and lesbians, and shock leftists, end quote, which Benjamin Netanyahu, who I didn't know actually has an Instagram account, decided to officially respond with some heat here, saying, Dear Ratam, an important correction, Israel is not a state of all its citizens. According to the nation state law that we passed, Israel is the nation state of the Jewish people and them alone. As you wrote, there's no problem with the Arab citizens of Israel. They have the same rights as us all, and the liquid government has invested in the Arab sector more than any other government. Now, an important correction, of course, people are saying very inflammatory comments that are, again, everyone's talking about right now, saying that he was demonizing Arabs. But it's important to understand here that this prime minister is embattled with indictments. And also, there's a political situation unfolding there where there are Arab political parties who are on the verge of disbanding their alliance, which, of course, creates a very different situation with the election that is coming up there. Jason, what do you make of these comments, and what's the latest with the indictments? And do you think this is somehow motivated by the indictments that Netanyahu is facing?
I don't know that it's motivated at all by those indictments. I think that this is just further evidence that Israel is an ethno-state, a bigoted one. It really is. And unfortunately, if it were about allowing Arabs and Israeli Jews to live amongst one another, that'd be great, but that does not seem to be the goal. And unfortunately, when you have a prime minister saying things like this, it only echoes that. When you say, quote unquote, Israel is not a state of all its citizens, that's not even a thinly veiled remark. Now, as far as what is going on with Netanyahu and these indictments, it's pretty interesting stuff because it does show, how do I say this, turmoil within kind of like the Jewish/Israeli establishment. You know, you have people playing on both sides. Well, what do I mean? One of the three charges that you have going on is that Netanyahu himself helped sabotage Sheldon Adelson and his owned newspaper, Israel Hayom. Why is that important? Well, Sheldon Adelson is one of the large contributors to Trump and his campaign and administration. He helped him get elected. So this shows that even though Netanyahu and Trump are buddy-buddy, besties, if you will, there have been cases in the past where Netanyahu has not been favorable to people like Adelson. Now, there are other corruption charges here that we need to look at. For instance, Netanyahu taking gifts from Hollywood mogul Arnon Milken. You look up Arnon Milken, let me tell you, he's got his hands in a lot in Hollywood. Now, it seems like it's going to be very easy to prove this, but Netanyahu's defense is going to be, it's acceptable to receive gifts from friends, and some of my decisions in the past weren't pro-Milken. And obviously that's there, but God knows what kind of emails they have, what kind of communications. And, you know, we have another case, again, involving fraud, corruption charges, bribery, breach of trust. This seems to be pretty run-of-the-mill stuff. Now, Luke, what a lot of people aren't going to understand about these hearings is they may not be hearings at all. What does that mean? Well, they can be in a written format. That doesn't mean they will be. There is the chance that he may actually have to sit before people and answer questions, but more than likely, this is a very lengthy process, and the hearings will be done basically through lawyers and through digital communications of process texts.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see how this entire ordeal kind of unfolds. Now, obviously, a lot of people are saying that these comments are kind of incitement. And we have to point out here that Netanyahu could be feeling emboldened also because of the cozy relationship with Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump's son in law, Jared Kushner. As we know, Netanyahu literally slept in the bed of Jared Kushner when he visited the United States before. So the cozy relationship is there. The United States has moved the embassy. The negotiations don't look very promising between the Israelis and, of course, the Palestinians. So definitely looks like we're going down a very, very, let's just say, fascinating phase in the Middle East, which, of course, is very turbulent, and it's only looking to become more turbulent. Now, I was in Israel just a few weeks ago. From the sentiment I get, it definitely looks like Netanyahu is set to win, but what do you think? Do you think, again, the bigger consensus here, how do you think everything will unfold moving forward, Jason, specifically from the research that you've done?
Well, a lot of people are out there saying, oh, this is trying to derail his election. That's what this is. This is political timing. But from my research, it's kind of the opposite. What do I mean? Well, these charges are stemming from a police investigation that came to a close almost a year ago and put out their findings. So it's not like this is new. These allegations and charges have been there. They've been investigated. The police put out their report. It's only the attorney general snapping to make that decision whether he's going to charge him or not. And if you really think about it, if you waited all the way until after the elections, that almost looks like you were using the political play to get him elected and then kind of brush this under the rug. I don't really think it has anything to do. And like you said, Luke, I don't think that he's going anywhere. I think he will be voted in. I think this will be kind of a show trial on paper. I don't think he'll be sitting down and making revelations on camera or in public. I think everything will be looked at meticulously, and it'll be written down and reviewed by lawyer after lawyer after lawyer, and there'll be a lot of back and forth, and maybe even some type of settlement reached, but I can guarantee you he's not going to plead guilty to fraud, breach of trust, bribery, sometimes on several occasions, seeing these are three separate cases.
Especially as a prime minister that looks like he's going to be taking office once again. So it's going to be interesting to see this kind of unfold, whether it's kind of a Trump situation with the Mueller investigation, because this is somewhat similar, but this is already indictments already put out there. And as we know, the investigation is still going on. The hearings are still going on. So it's going to be fascinating to cover these latest developments. But sadly, one thing I also remember talking to, a lot of Israelis is that this kind of hyperbolic, very aggressive talk is usually normal right before elections, with Netanyahu trying to, of course, galvanize his base. And then I also heard that people were disappointed that he doesn't go far enough from certain individuals. So a very, very, very complicated situation, only becoming more complicated, only becoming more convoluted, and sadly doesn't look like it's going towards a resolution. It looks like it's going towards more conflict, which is a sad state of affairs unfolding, in my opinion, right now in the Middle East. That's what I think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Jason, if you have anything else to say, let me know. Cut me off before I end off this broadcast. But that's what we have so far. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting independent media. Stay tuned for a lot more here on youtube.com/we are change.